The cunning hare and the leopard's trick. In a dense green forest where the trees formed a thick canopy and the rivers ran swift and clear, there lived a hare named Jabu. Jabu was known far and wide for his cleverness and quick thinking. He was small and swift, with bright eyes that sparkled with mischief and a sharp mind that always seemed to be one step ahead of everyone else. In the same forest, there also lived a powerful leopard named Duma. Duma was strong, fierce, and proud of his hunting skills. He was feared by many animals in the forest, and he often boasted about how no creature could outsmart him. One day, as Jabu was hopping through the forest, he heard a rustling in the bushes behind him. He turned and saw Duma, who was watching him with a gleam in his eyes. "Ah, Jabu," Duma said with a sly grin. "I've been looking for you. You see, I've heard tales of your cleverness, and I'm curious to know if you are as smart as they say." Jabu twitched his nose and eyed the leopard cautiously. He knew that Duma was not to be trusted, but he was also curious about what the leopard had in mind. "What do you want from me, Duma?" Jabu asked, trying to sound confident. "I propose a little game," Duma replied, circling Jabu slowly. "If you can outsmart me in a test of wits, I will leave you in peace. But if you fail, you will become my next meal." Jabu's heart skipped a beat, but he hid his fear behind a playful smile. He knew he had no choice but to accept the challenge, for there was no way he could outrun the swift leopard. "Very well, Duma," Jabu said. "What is your challenge?" Duma's grin widened, and he sat down on his haunches, his tail flicking back and forth. "I challenge you to a race," he said. "But not just any race. We will race to the edge of the forest, where the great baobab tree stands. The first to reach the tree and touch its trunk will be the winner." Jabu thought quickly. He knew that in a straight race, he stood no chance against the fast and powerful Duma. But he also knew that the forest was full of twists, turns, and hidden paths that he was familiar with. Perhaps there was a way to use the forest to his advantage. "Agreed," Jabu said, nodding. "But I have one request. Since you are so much faster than I am, let us start from different points. You will start from the east side of the forest, and I will start from the west. That way, the race will be fair." Duma considered this for a moment, then agreed. He was confident that no matter where they started, he would be the first to reach the baobab tree. So they set off to their starting points. Jabu, knowing the forest like the back of his paw, quickly devised a plan. Instead of racing directly to the baobab tree, he would take a hidden path that led to a small hill overlooking the tree. From there, he could watch Duma's progress and find a way to outsmart him. Duma, on the other hand, was determined to show his superiority. He dashed through the forest, leaping over rocks and streams, confident that he would win the race with ease. As Jabu reached the hill, he spotted Duma speeding toward the baobab tree. The leopard was fast, but he was also taking the most direct route, which meant he had to navigate through thick underbrush and uneven ground. Jabu smiled to himself, realizing that Duma's pride was his weakness. When Duma was just a short distance away from the tree, Jabu put his plan into action. He raced down the hill, using his knowledge of the forest to take a series of shortcuts that brought him close to the baobab tree without Duma noticing. Just as Duma was about to touch the tree, Jabu appeared from the underbrush and leaped forward, touching the trunk with his paw. "Well, well, Duma," Jabu said, panting but grinning from ear to ear. "It seems I've won the race." Duma skidded to a halt, his eyes wide with shock and disbelief. He couldn't understand how Jabu had managed to reach the tree before him. For a moment, he was speechless. "But how?" Duma stammered. "I was faster. I should have won." Jabu chuckled and looked up at the leopard with a twinkle in his eye. "Speed isn't everything, Duma," he said. "Sometimes it takes a little cunning and knowledge of the land to win a race. You see, you were busy charging ahead. I used the forest to my advantage. I knew the paths you didn't, and that made all the difference." Duma growled softly, frustrated but unable to deny that Jabu had outsmarted him. He had underestimated the little hare, and now he had to honor his word. "A deal is a deal," Duma said grudgingly. "You have won, Jabu. I will leave you in peace, as I promised." With that, the leopard turned and slunk away into the forest, his pride wounded, but his respect for Jabu greatly increased. Jabu watched Duma disappear into the trees and let out a sigh of relief. He had narrowly escaped becoming the leopard's meal, thanks to his quick thinking and clever plan. From that day on, the animals of the forest spoke of how the cunning hare had outwitted the fierce leopard, and Jabu's reputation as the cleverest of all creatures only grew. And so, Jabu continued to live in the forest, always ready with a trick or a clever plan to outsmart any who dared to challenge him.